Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Arif and I welcome you all to lecture number 2.6 on the second module, uh, Basic Python Programming. This course is titled Tools and Techniques for Data Science. Well, to access the notebook for today's session, you can always visit my personal website and you can access the notebooks from these links over here. They will open up in NB Viewer and you can open it for in edit mode for in Binder, or you may better download all the notebook files present on the data science repository on the course GitHub account and use them in the Anaconda that has been installed on your personal machine. Okay, so this is my Jupyter notebook interface and I have already opened today's file. We are going to work on tuples today. Let me hide the header to have better view. Okay, so here we are. Fine. My dear students, in the last session, that is lecture number 2.5, we discussed the list data structure of Python, which is a numerically ordered sequence of elements that can store multiple items of heterogeneous types and also allows duplicate elements. Other than slicing, concatenating and repeating lists, we discussed different methods of list as well in the last class, using which we can add, modify and remove list elements. We also differentiated between the concepts of aliasing, shallow copy and deep copy. And I think finally we closed our previous session with ascending, descending and customized sorting of the list elements using the sort method. And today we are going to talk about another data structure of Python, that is tuple. This tuple data structure is immutable, unlike lists which are mutable. And this is also a subcategory of sequence type, as list is also a sequence. My dear students, like list, a tuple is also ordered collection of values, and a tuple also allows us to store elements of different types. So this is also heterogeneous. Well, to create list, in the last session we used comma separated values in square brackets. But to create a tuple, we use comma separated values in parentheses. Unlike list, tuples are immutable, so we cannot add, modify or remove tuple elements as we have done in case of list. So they are quite similar. You can say that a tuple is actually immutable list. And we normally use a tuple or prefer tuples over list when we want to pass an object to a function and want to make sure that the object does not get changed inside that function. I think enough of theory. Let's see the agenda of today's session. Okay, so we will start with how we can create tuples. We will discuss different concepts related to tuples. We will have a proof of their concepts. We will see different ways to access elements of a tuple, how to slice a tuple, how to concatenate and repeat tuples. And of course, being immutable, as I have already said, you cannot add elements to a tuple and you cannot remove elements from a tuple. And finally, once again, we will see, as we have seen in list, how we can convert string object to tuples and vice versa. We'll see few tuple methods, and finally we will see how we can do the sorting on tuples using the built-in sorted function. So let's start playing. So remember, make it your habit to get help about whatever data structure you are going to use. Do read this. Well, a tuple is created by placing a comma separated values inside parentheses, or you may create them without parentheses. Uh, but better programming practice is that you should use uh, these parentheses whenever you are going to create a tuple. And of course, you can create tuples of integers, of floats, of strings, of boolean values, as we have seen in case of lists as well. And you can create an empty tuple as well. So this is an empty tuple. And however, remember, in case of list, it's very simple to create a list with single element. That is, you just place a single element inside straight brackets. However, if you want to create a tuple having only one element, you need to place the element, put a comma, and then place it in parentheses. Because if you do not put parentheses, if you do not put a comma over here, Python will take it as an int or float or string maybe, and not a tuple like. Great. And of course, like list, you can have a nested tuple. A tuple can have another tuple inside it. So this is another tuple that has been placed at index 0, 1, 2, and 3. A tuple can also have another tuple or maybe list as an item. So over here we have a tuple, and over here we have a list. Great. So some few proof of concepts. First of all, tuples are heterogeneous. By heterogeneous, I mean like we have seen in list as well. The elements of a tuple can be of any type. It can be of a type string, integer, or a float. Well, tuple are ordered like list. Uh, by order, I mean every element is associated by an index. If we talk about this tuple, at index 0 we have 1, at index 1 we have 2, at index 2 we have 3. So these are ordered. Every time you access a tuple element, they will show up in the same sequence. Similarly, like list, remember, two tuples having the same elements in different order are of course not same. You can check this out like this. These are two tuples at two different memory locations, and if you say A is B, of course this will be false, because is going to compare the IDs. This double equals will also evaluates to false, because two tuples having elements in different order are once compared returns false. Excuse me. Next, tuples are immutable, unlike list. So once you have created a tuple, the way I have created a tuple having 3 elements, you cannot modify one of its element. This will generate an error. Excuse me, gentlemen. Let me keep sipping a cup of tea so that I should not cough much. Fine. Great. Okay, so tuple, however, can be reassigned. You cannot change the individual element within a tuple. However, you can change the tuple entirely. So this line is going to create a tuple inside the memory having 10, 20, and 30. And this number is a reference that is pointing to that object. Over here, this numbers is again a reference that is pointing to a different tuple object inside the memory. And of course this object has now become orphan, and that will be garbage collected. And this has I'm repeating these things. I have repeated this in strings, I have repeated this in list, so that you should remember how things move on underneath Python. Okay, so one more thing, a list within a tuple is still mutable. So this is a list within this tuple, and 0, 1, 2, this list is at index 2. Over here you see that I am modifying the element of this list. So this is very much okay with Python. Let me repeat again. A list element a sublist within a tuple is mutable. Then tuples can have duplicate elements. So we have RF and RF. So duplicate values inside tuples are allowed. Like list, tuples can be nested to arbitrary depth, of course restricted to the available memory. Like list, you can pack and unpack tuples. So this is a tuple having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 strings, and over here I have assigned this tuple to 5 variables. So this is very much okay. However, remember that the number of variables on the left side of the assignment statement must match the number of elements inside the tuple. And similarly, you can pack individual elements to form a tuple again. Fine. Well, there are different ways to access elements of a tuple. Since list tuple is also a sequence, so you can access individual elements using the straight bracket, and you can place the index over here. So 0, 1, 2, this will return 5.5, and this will return this tuple or subtuple from this tuple, and you can access the nested tuple elements as I have done over here. I hope this makes sense to you. Like list, we can have negative indexing as well. So negative indexing works pretty fine. A negative index of -1 means the last element of the tuple. And over here, the last element of the tuple is again a subtuple containing 10 and rows. So we have got 10 and rows. And -2 means the second last element, which is 5.5. And finally, like list, you have the index method as well. If you want to find out the index of a particular tuple element, you can use this index method. I want to find out the index of RF, which is 0, 1, and 2. Great. So this is 2. Slicing. Like any other sequence objects, we can perform slicing with tuples. We have seen slicing with strings as well as with list. And slicing syntax is as usual. Inside the straight brackets, you put on the 2 columns. In the very beginning, we have the start, then we have the end, which is not inclusive, remember, and this is the step. The default start value is 0. The default end value is the length of the tuple, number of elements in the tuple, and the step is 1. So that's great. So this is equivalent to just displaying the tuple. This will start from the third and will end at the end of the tuple, 0, 1, 2, and 3. This has started from D. So this will start from 0 and end at the third index. This 4 is not inclusive. So A, B, C, D. So please do make yourself comfortable with the slicing of tuples. We have spent much of time on this in the list. So I have just written few examples. Make time to run them and understand them. Well, like list, tuples can be concatenated using the plus operator, and you can use the asterisk operator to replicate or repeat a tuple. So we have just concatenated a tuple named A with another tuple containing 4 and 5. So after that, we have added a 0 in the very beginning, and then I have displayed these 3 tuples A, B, and C. So A is the original tuple containing 1, 2, 3. B is the second tuple and contains 1, 2, 3 with 4 and 5. You see, these 2 values have been added at the end of the previous one. And if you want to add some values in the beginning, I have done this as well for you. Hope this makes sense. And similarly, you can have tuples of strings. You can concatenate 2 heterogeneous tuples. This is tuple. And over here again I have concatenated a tuple with a nested tuple. The way we can replicate a list, we can replicate tuples as well. So this is a tuple containing three elements, Arif, Hadith and Mujahid. So I have replicated it three times. So Arif, Hadith and Mujahid. 1, 2 and 3. Great. And similarly we can have create a buffer of any size having just one character like this. Then my dear students, being immutable, you cannot add elements to a tuple. In list we have seen that this is very much possible using the append, extend and the insert method. So if I run this, this will generate an error and it will say tuple object has no attribute insert. Fine. Similarly, being immutable, you cannot remove elements from a tuple. So over here I have created a tuple. You cannot delete a tuple. Let me comment the rest of the lines so that you can understand it properly. You cannot delete an element 0, 1, 2 and 3. Over here I just want to delete this width over here. So this will raise an error and it will say tuple object does not support item deletion. Okay, so let me comment this. However, you can delete an entire tuple if you want to. If I do something like this, so this will work. This will delete this tuple. Okay, this has been deleted. And after this, if I want to print this, this will again flag an error that this name does not exist. And over here, I'm telling you that you can assign a completely new tuple as well. This is very much possible. You cannot modify an element of a tuple. However, you can create an entirely new tuple and you can assign it to the same reference. And of course, in that case, this tuple inside the memory will become orphan and it will be garbage collected. Okay, then let's do typecasting. You can of course easily do typecasting. So this is a string. Learning is fun. If you want to typecast it to a tuple, you can just use the tuple method and pass it this string, so it will be typecasted to a tuple. So let me show it to you. This is the original string. Learning is fun and the type of the string is str. And once I have typecasted this string, you see this L, E, A, R, all these have been separately assigned to a tuple. And the type of this object is of course tuple. So typecasting is done. And of course we have seen split in case of strings. Well, this split is normally used to tokenize a string based on a delimiter. And this can be stored inside a tuple. This is a string. Learning is fun. And I have told split to split this string based on spaces. Remember this split method of the string class, this by default returns a list as we have seen in the previous session. So if you want to receive it in a tuple, you just have to typecast it. Great. Over here as well, data science is great degree. Over here I want to split it using a special character C instead of space. This is also possible. Okay, so I'm having a cup of tea, simultaneously doing some parallel processing. Well, join. This join is also a string method. It is the reverse of split and is used to join multiple strings by inserting a string in between on which the method is called. So anyway, this is a tuple containing these strings. This is getting more and more interesting. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this tuple has 6 elements. Now I just want to join this tuple and I want to join all the elements of this tuple based on this space. So you see it has been joined to one single string, and the type is of course str. And of course you can change the delimiter. You, instead of calling join on space, you can call join on any string of your choice. Over here it is space hash space. So this also works. Okay, there are a few tuple methods. Index, probably we have seen it before. If you want to find out the index of a particular element, you can use index. Here it is. And the count method actually takes exactly one argument, and it returns the number of times that value occurs in that tuple. So this is a tuple. I just want to find out how many times 8 has occurred. So 8 has occurred 2 times. So it appears 2. If I put another 8 over here, so it will output 3. Similarly, like a list, if you have a tuple of numeric values, you can use the max, min, and sum functions. The in and not in membership operators works the same way as we have seen on list. This is a tuple 3816084. If I want to find out whether this tuple contains this element or not, I can use the in operator or the not in, and this works equally fine with the tuples containing strings. And of course this in and not in operators return a Boolean value. Comparing objects, dear students, this has been repeated again and again for the strings, for the list, and for the tuples as well. Let me do it again. Remember, this str1 is a reference to a memory object containing hello. This str2 is another reference pointing to the same memory object hello. So there is only one object inside the memory. So that's why this str1 and str2, they both have the same index as shown over here. And the point to be noted that this is operator works on the IDs, and this double equals to operator works on the contents. So over here in both the cases we get a true. However, over here we have two tuples. This was about strings. Over here we have two tuples 1 2 3 1 2 3. Remember, this T1 is a reference to an memory object which is a tuple containing 1 2 3. This T2 is another reference which is pointing to a different tuple object containing 1 2 3. So in case of tuples, we have created two different tuples inside the memory. So T1 will be pointing to some other location in memory, T2 will be pointing to some other location in memory. Therefore, they will be having two different IDs as shown over here, 712, 424. Now it is very clear to you all that this is operating on the IDs or the addresses of the two tuples, which are of course different. So this returns false, and this double equals to operator compares the contents of the tuple or the object. So this returns true because both the tuples have the same elements in the same order. I hope this makes sense. Okay, finally, the way we have sorted list using the sort or maybe the reverse method, we cannot sort a tuple using this sort method. This sort method actually sort the list, and since a tuple is immutable, so this sort method cannot be applied to that. For that we have a sorted method. This sorted method is more powerful because it's a built-in function. It operates on any type of iterable. It works equally fine on list and it works equally fine on tuples. The difference is the sorted method returns a sorted version of the iterable. So if you pass it a list, the list remains unchanged. It returns a sorted version of that list. If you pass it a tuple, the original tuple remains as such. It returns the sorted version of that tuple. So this is great. And it is passed almost the same arguments. Over here just there is a required argument iterable. The sort method was called on the list object on the left we have a list object, then a dot, and then the sort method name. Over here we have the first argument, which is the name of the iterable. Then we have reverse argument, which by default is false. That means it carries out a ascending sort. Excuse me again. And if you want to do a reverse sort, you can put it over true over here. And this key is an argument that is used for customized sort. We have seen it in list as well, and today again I will show you an example for this. Okay, so this is a tuple and I've called sorted on it. Note that I have passed the tuple as an argument over here. In case of sort function, we write something like this. We write it like my list dot sort, and it sorts that list. This list is sorted. But over here, the difference is we pass it an iterable. That iterable remains as such, and a sorted version of that iterable is returned. Let me run it. Excuse me. And remember, this sorted method by default returns a list. So this list 1 is, this is a sorted version, this is a list. We have passed a tuple and we have received a list. And if you want to receive it inside a tuple again, you can typecast it, of course. I hope this makes sense. And this reverse argument, if you pass it true, this will be reversely sort. So this is reverse sort. Okay, fine. So the way we have sorted a tuple with numeric values, we can sort a tuple with alphabetical values or strings, and this works equally fine on that. Okay, in the last lecture as well, we talked about customized sorts on lists. And over here again, I want to revise it so that you have clear understanding. And suppose we have, this is the same example, I think. Suppose we have a tuple having these 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 elements, 3 C's, 4 A's, a single D and a double B. And we do not want to sort it alphabetically, rather we want to sort it by the length of the strings, so that the output is the string having a single character. This D should come first, then 2 elements, then 3 elements, and then 4 elements. So for this we need to make use of this key argument of the sorted method. So we need to pass a one argument function to this key, and we just pass the len function to this. So what happens is all the elements of this tuple, before they get sorted, they will be passed to this function len. This len function will be applied on all the elements of this tuple, and this will return, of course, the length. So we will have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2. So a shadow list will be created, and based on the elements of that shadow list, which is 3, 5, 1 and 2, this list will be sorted. So finally you will get the desired result, D, B, B, triple C and 5 A's. And suppose this is another example in which I just want that, let's suppose this is a tuple having 1, 2, 3 and 4, these 4 elements, and I want to sort these elements by the last character. So I want A, B, C, Z to come at the end, and I want X, Y, Z, A to come in the beginning. So I want to sort this tuple based on the last alphabets of each string. Once again, I need a key function which needs to be passed to the sorted method. So this is sort. We are using sorted right now. Okay, so let me correct this. Otherwise, I will just forgot. I should have used this over here. Okay, so fine. So what I have done is I have written my own function as I did in the last lecture. The name of the function is last. It is passed a string received in this S, and it returns the last alphabet or last character of that. So once this ABCZ is passed to this function, it will return Z. This will return A. Once this BAS is passed, it will return S. So finally, we will be before this tuple gets sorted, uh, we will get a temporary list containing Z, A, S, and F as shown over here. Z, A, S, and F. This last function will return a list containing the last alphabet of each string in this tuple, and that is Z, A, S, and F. The sorting will be performed on this list based on this. So this will be sorted. A will come first, then F, then S, and then Z. And based on that shadow list, the final tuple will also be sorted and returned. Once again, let me hamper this, that this sorted function does nothing to the actual iterable. The actual iterable remain as such, and the new value is returned. Let me tell you that this is the return value, let's suppose, and I do a print RV, and this is the sorted list which has been returned. And if I do a print T1, so you see the original tuple is as such. Okay, my dear students, I think that is all for today's session. I hope that if you have seen and practiced the list session, this would have been a piece of cake as there were a lot of repetitions in it. Please do make changes in this notebook file and let your curiosity run wild and see what this data structure, that is tuple, is capable of. I hope today's session was informative for you all. If you have liked it, please subscribe my YouTube channel and share it with your friends. I wish you all the best. Happy learning and Allah Hafiz.